Joyful blessings. This is Kaylin Castell with another edition of the Sky Mysteries, looking at Mercury retrograde as the playful trickster magic that it is. And here we can see Mercury in this image. It's an older image that is showing Mercury going in two different directions. And so one of the things that Joseph Campbell reminds us of is that the trickster, and really nearly every culture that we can imagine, has seen how the trickster energy is bringing great wisdom. Sometimes this arrives as the result of confounding situations and unexpected sources that are designed to connect us to our divinity through magic and humor and laughter, especially when we're willing to laugh at ourselves. And that is our best medicine. And that is one of the things that Mercury does bring us. And oftentimes people feel that Mercury retrograde is challenging. And yes, it can be challenging, but it really has its own high magic. And so for us to align with this time, it helps us to let go of any resistance that we might have around the slowing of the rational mind, allowing for more activation of the intuitive creative mind. Because literally what's happening is that as Mercury goes retrograde, it's shifting from a predominantly left brain collective reality to a predominantly right brain collective during the retrograde time. And because of that shift, that is one of the reasons why we experience challenges with communication, because we're used to operating in a more left brain way in our culture. We have challenges with technology because technology is much more of a left brain kind of thing. And so when we have the Mercury retrograde, if we can really embrace this more right brain collective experience, then more creativity, a lot of things can come through if we allow ourselves to slow down and be with the process. So this image here, you're seeing Mercury. It's the smallest of our planets. It's closest to the sun, and literally only takes 88 days to make one orbit around the sun. Now, from the Earth's perspective, we see that it takes longer for Mercury to go through all the star patterns and so on, and that's based on what we can see out in the sky. And because Mercury is so close to the sun, it really has no atmosphere. And so what happens is that it gets super hot and super cold. It's kind of unpredictable. It's because it's also moving so fast around the sun, it moves quickly, just like our minds can move instantly from one thought to another, from thinking about something in one place to another place, or just completely shifting the reality based on what we're tking. So Mercury also has the most eccentric orbit of all the planets. It's an eccentric meaning elliptical. So it can be very close to the sun, very far away from the sun. It literally can go from 29 million miles to 43 million miles, a difference of about 14 million miles. And so that's a pretty unique and interesting reality around Mercury. And also, if you weigh, say, 100 pounds on Earth and you went to Mercury, you'd weigh about 38 pounds. So the gravity on Mercury is different than the gravity on Earth. It's lighter, it's quicker, it moves more quickly. So I just felt like it might be fun to share with you what a Mercury retrograde looks like. So if we were watching the planet move across the sky, move across certain stars, then what happens is it starts slowing down, and then it shifts direction and it heads back across the same stars it just passed. And then it turns around and heads back and goes direct. And so from the place that it stations retrograde to the place that it stations direct, it's crossing those stars 3 times. And so on your natal chart, if you have something in certain degrees and Mercury happens to cross that 3 times. So just so you can kind of get a sense of the movement or how that looks in the sky. And literally this is not happening with Mercury. Mercury's always moving forward. Any planet we see from the Earth is always moving forward. But because of the way the Earth is passing Mercury and Mercury is passing the Earth, it creates this visual effect of a retracing of the steps going backward. So one of the things I've thought for many, many years, probably since the mid 90s, is that when Mercury is retrograde, it's like pulling an arrow back on a bow. And so basically moving away from the target so that it's gathering power and strength so that when it goes forward, it can go forward with greater clarity and movement. So something to know is that Mercury is retrograde about every 105 to 120 days. It varies a little bit, and it often goes retrograde about 3 times a year. Occasionally it'll go a fourth time during the year. It's retrograde for about 21 days, sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little shorter. And it's only appearing, as I said, to be moving backward. And as Mercury reaches the station point, either retrograde or direct, it's slowing down, it's moving slower. And so if we take time to be with this slowed down movement, because the mind can move very fast. So if we take time to move a little slower, then we can have amazing creative possibilities that emerge for us as we connect with this retrograde process. So again, it's that pulling the arrow back away from the target to gain power and perspective. And if it's done correctly and intention is set with a sense of aligned perspective with what's really true for us, if we're paying attention to that, then when Mercury goes direct, it can go cleanly to whatever the target is. So some things to know about Mercury retrograde is that it is a trickster energy, and there are often unexpected tricks that can happen. A lot of times technology, it doesn't work in the same way during a Mercury retrograde. Um, why it's great to back up your computer or your technology before Mercury goes retrograde. If you have a chance to do that, make sure you're saving things in a good way. Also, it's a time for really behaving responsibly so you can avoid unintended consequences. And this often happens through communication or missed communication. And one of the things I am writing and working on is something that is titled, What You Heard Is Not What I Meant. Because oftentimes we'll hear something that somebody says, and it's not what they mean, but we hear it a certain way and we get triggered, and it can happen more easily in a Mercury retrograde. It's also highly recommended to wait to make life-changing decisions. Sometimes we have to make those decisions during a Mercury retrograde, but if you can wait, then that is highly recommended. It's also not a good time to launch a business or sign a contract or have elective surgery or make a major purchase or buy electronics. It's better to wait until Mercury is direct for those things to happen. And then again, backing up your technology is a good idea before Mercury goes direct. And then also, it's a great time to allow magic to happen. And it can happen beyond all logic and reason, because it's not a time of logic and reason. It's a time of more intuitive, uh, felt expressions of how we connect with what we know outside of our logical, rational mind. It's also a great time to engage in fun, creative projects that are activating the right brain and expanding your perception of reality. So if, for 21 days or for the time that Mercury's retrograde, if you have a chance to do that, it's a great time to do that. Sometimes you might get the idea for the project and not actually get a chance to start it until after Mercury's gone direct, but pay attention to those things that are coming through for you during a Mercury retrograde. Also, it's a time for embracing new perspectives or ways of viewing issues and situations so they can resolve or redirect, because it's a retrograde. And resolve, redirect, renew, reimagine, all the words that you can think of do apply to a retrograde time. And it's a great time to let go of any attachment you have to how things turn out, including communication, travel, or events. I know personally I've had some interesting travel redirects while Mercury's been retrograde. And then the best thing that you can do when Mercury's retrograde is go with the flow and trust what is unfolding, because it's ideally really taking you to a place that you want to go. So if you want to know more about Mercury retrograde dates and insights, you can visit my website, kaylencastell.com or celestialtimings.com. They take you to the same site. And if you want to have announcements about when I'm posting a new video on my YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell to get the announcements when the new videos are posted. And I hope that you all have great fun and work with the humor and the trickster qualities and not take yourself so seriously during Mercury retrograde.